in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Some mysteries are so baffling they become legends. They are whispered in dockside taverns and debated by historians for centuries. But among all the tales of the sea, one stands alone, not for its violence or storms, but for its eerie silence. It's the story of a ship found in near-perfect condition, its cargo almost entirely untouched. A ship with just one thing missing: every single person on board. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of the Mary Celeste, a vessel often called the world's most famous ghost ship, and the mystery of the 10 souls who vanished without a trace over 150 years ago. Imagine you're a sailor on the British brigantine, the Dei Gratia, on December 5th, 1872. It's a choppy, gray afternoon, about 400 miles east of the Azores. Suddenly, another ship is spotted. She's moving erratically, her sails in a strange configuration, as if handled by a phantom crew. Your captain, David Morehouse, recognizes the vessel. It's the Mary Celeste, an American merchant ship that left New York 8 days before his own. By all accounts, she should have already reached her destination in Genoa, Italy. He hails her, again and again. The only reply is the groaning of timber and the snap of a loose sail in the wind. Something is terribly wrong. A boarding party is sent over, and what they find will launch a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. They step onto a deck that is utterly, unnervingly empty. The men from the Dei Gratia moved cautiously across the deck of the silent ship. What they discovered wasn't a scene of chaos, but one of eerie, suspended animation. The ship was adrift, but still seaworthy. While she was wet and some sails were tattered, there was no sign of catastrophic damage. In the hold, her cargo of over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol was almost entirely intact. Below deck, the crew's personal belongings were neatly stowed. Money, pipes, and clothing were left behind, as a person would never abandon willingly. In the captain's cabin, everything seemed to be in order. Later accounts would paint a vivid picture of toys belonging to his 2-year-old daughter, and his wife's sewing machine with an unfinished piece of work. Details that captured the profound sense of a family life cut short. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood stains, nothing to suggest violence. The ship's galley had plenty of food and fresh water. It was as if the crew had simply stepped away for a moment. But the ship's only lifeboat was gone, and a few strange clues only deepened the puzzle. 3.5 feet of water was sloshing in the hold, but for a vessel of its size, this wasn't a critical amount. One of the 2 water pumps had been disassembled, its pieces lying on the deck. The ship's chronometer and sextant vital navigational tools for a captain were missing. The last entry in the ship's logbook was dated 10 days earlier, November 25th. It gave their position near the Azores island of Santa Maria and noted nothing unusual. The ship was a floating enigma, a perfectly preserved crime scene with no victims, no weapon, and no clear motive. How could 10 people just vanish from a sound ship in the middle of the ocean? The 10 souls aboard the Mary Celeste were not a random group of sailors. They were led by Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a man with an impeccable reputation. At 37 years old, Briggs was an experienced and respected mariner from a Massachusetts seafaring family. He was a devout Christian, an abstainer from alcohol, and known for his fairness. This voyage was special for him. He'd recently invested his life savings into a share of the Mary Celeste and had the cabin modified to accommodate his family. Joining him were his 31-year-old wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. Their 7-year-old son, Arthur, was left with his grandmother so he could go to school, a decision that unknowingly saved his life. Before leaving New York on November 7th, 1872, Captain Briggs wrote to his mother, "Our vessel is in beautiful trim, and I hope we shall have a fine passage." His words are a haunting echo of a journey that began with such optimism. The crew was handpicked. First mate, Albert Richardson, was related to the ship's owner and had sailed with Briggs before. The rest of the crew included an American second mate and 4 German sailors, all described as peaceful, competent men. There was no history of trouble among them. They were, by all accounts, a professional crew on a good ship, led by a captain at the peak of his career. Their collective disappearance makes the mystery not just a nautical puzzle, but a heartbreaking human tragedy. When the Mary Celeste was towed to Gibraltar, the Vice Admiralty Court launched an inquiry, led by an Attorney General named Frederick Sur. Modern analysis has shown it was entirely possible for the ship to have sailed itself that distance, drifting on the winds and currents, This suggested that whatever happened, it happened on or shortly after November 25th. Then there was the cargo. While the 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol were mostly secure, the crew from the Dei Gratia noted that 9 barrels were empty. Years later, investigators would theorize that these 9 barrels were made of red oak, a more porous wood than the white oak used for the others. Maybe a previous cargo of coal dust had clogged the pumps, and Captain Briggs couldn't tell how much water was really in the hold. He might have mistakenly believed his ship was sinking faster than it actually was. The missing lifeboat was the clearest sign of all. The crew had abandoned the ship deliberately. They also took the captain's chronometer and sextant the tools needed to navigate. This suggests a planned, orderly evacuation, not a panicked flight. And yet, they left behind money, foul weather gear, and plenty of provisions. They left everything they would need to survive. It's a paradox. They planned to navigate, but weren't prepared to survive. For over 150 years, the mystery of the Mary Celeste has invited endless speculation. So, let's step into the role of detective and interrogate the main suspects. The leading theories. Our first suspect is foul play. The Attorney General in Gibraltar, Sully Flood, was certain of it. He initially suspected the crew of the Dei Gratia. How convenient, he thought, that Captain Morehouse, a friend of Captain Briggs, just happened to find the ship and stood to claim a huge salvage reward. The court investigated this, but found no evidence, and the theory was dismissed. Sully Flood's next idea was mutiny. He proposed the crew had gotten into the industrial alcohol, murdered Briggs and his family, and fled. Besides, Captain Briggs was a respected leader with a peaceful crew. And why would mutineers abandon a perfectly good ship to take their chances in a tiny boat in the middle of the Atlantic? It just doesn't add up. Our second suspect, pirates. They were still a threat in some parts of the world in the 1870s. But pirates are thieves. They would have looted the valuables, and, above all, would have taken the ship, or its valuable cargo. Since nothing of value was stolen, piracy is an illogical explanation. A third possibility is a natural disaster. An encounter with a giant squid is the stuff of legend, not history. A more realistic theory involves a waterspout or a seaquake, an underwater earthquake that could have rocked the ship, fearing the vessel was breaking up or about to be swamped, especially with his wife and child aboard. Captain Briggs might have ordered a temporary evacuation into the lifeboat to wait out the danger. This leads us to our final and most plausible suspect. A tragic miscalculation driven by fear. As the ship sailed into the warmer climate of the Azores, it's possible the volatile alcohol released explosive fumes that built up in the hold. Captain Briggs, a conscientious man, may have opened the hatch to ventilate it, and this is where it gets chilling. In 2006, scientist Dr. Andrea Sella ran an experiment. He built a scale model of the ship's hold and ignited gas to simulate the alcohol fumes. The result wasn't a huge, destructive fire. It was a pressure wave. Explosion loud, terrifying whoosh, with a flash of flame that produced no scorching. To the crew, it would have looked and sounded like the ship was about to blow apart. Faced with that, Captain Briggs would have made a split-second decision. Believing his ship was a ticking time bomb, he'd order an immediate but orderly evacuation. This theory explains everything. They launched a lifeboat. Briggs grabbed his navigational tools, and they likely stayed tethered to the Mary Celeste by a rope, intending to return once the danger passed. The Mary Celeste, meanwhile, sailed on, an unmanned ghost ship waiting to be found. After being salvaged, the ship's reputation was forever tainted. The Gibraltar court, still suspicious, awarded the Dei Gratia crew only a fraction of the salvage money they were due. The Mary Celeste had sailed under new ownership for another 12 years. But she was plagued by misfortune. Her final voyage ended in 1885 when her last captain deliberately wrecked her off Haiti in a failed insurance fraud. A sordid end for a ship defined by mystery. But the story didn't end there. It was immortalized in 1884 by a short story from a young Arthur Conan Doyle, who took liberties with the facts, but cemented the ship's place in popular culture. She became the archetypal ghost ship, a legend built not on monsters, but on a foundation of solid, inexplicable fact. The mystery of the Mary Celeste is a powerful reminder of how quickly a normal voyage can turn into a legend that lasts forever. The sea keeps its secrets well, and sometimes, even with all the clues, The full story remains just out of reach. Over 150 years later, the silence from that empty deck still echoes.